Hi, today's channel is The Mystery of Alignment Simplified. Before we start, this is the book that I co-wrote with my guides. It's called The 3 Awakenings That Save Humanity. It is an amazing book, in my opinion. There's some really mind-blowing concepts in here, and I think it's going to give you a view of the world, which when you hear it, you'll go, oh right, yes, I get it. I totally see that. At least that's what it did for me anyway. So this is available. There's a link below this video and you can get that. And also I do private channelings. So if you'd like to have a private channeling with me, then I'm also going to provide the link below this video. And finally, if you enjoy this video or any of my videos, please like, subscribe, comment, share, stop random people in the street and tell them about it. No, maybe don't do that. That's probably a bad idea. Okay, so The Mystery of Alignment Simplified. So we go. Greetings and thank you for the statement. The Mystery of Alignment Simplified. We have inspired you to bring this statement to the channel because we often speak about alignment. And alignment, as you said in your introduction, is bandied about often in this genre where people who are looking for some form of expansion, for enlightenment, for awakening. And this concept of alignment is used frequently, but is explained with a degree of clarity which makes it useful infrequently. And so we wish to bridge this gap because we also do often speak about the concept of alignment. So, let us begin in this way. You exist in multiple fields simultaneously, and these fields, in the way the all has been designed, function at their highest capacity, highest potential, when these fields are in a type of alignment, are in a coherent arrangement. And when this coherent arrangement is in place, then the way in which the individual, for example, is able to function and grow and expand is optimal. And so if one is to use the apparatus as it is intended, then one would seek to find this alignment. Now this may sound self-explanatory, and the gaping hole in this explanation is, what is alignment? How are these different fields aligned? What does it even mean? Well, this is the simple answer. To align each of these fields is to exist in that field in the most clarified and pure way. And when you exist in the most clarified and pure way in each of these fields, then they very naturally fall into alignment. Because as you can imagine, it makes complete sense that the alignment would be when each of the fields are exhibited, are experienced in the most clarified, purified way. So, this obviously requires the explanation of what these fields are. This is something that we will get to, so just hang in there. Let us first pretext that with why the alignment of these fields is important. It is the alignment that creates coherency, and it is the coherency that allows expansion. It allows borders to be crossed into a greater expression of who you are. So, let us say it this way. You're existing as the individual, but you're also part of a group being, which is the unity of all humanity, forming the humanity being. However, this threshold of awareness of self as the humanity being in a very visceral way, where you literally will respond to what are you with I am the individual and I am the unity, the humanity being, will not manifest this way until you have crossed into the fourth density field, because in the third density this is not a possibility. But the point of saying that in regard to this discussion is this crossing into the fourth density field where you identify as the unity is synonymous with saying that you reach a level of coherency in the greater aspect, meaning in this unity of all humanity, which you are. All of you who make this transition will reach a degree of coherency where your barriers, your borders that define you will coalesce into the greater. And you will no longer be just the individual, but you will now be the greater. This expanded concept of who you are, the unity. You will literally be that being, because all aspects of this being will be in a state of total and utter coherency, such that the borders dissolve, coalesce. And this coalescence of each other into each other to become the single being is becoming more reflective of what the one is, because the one is the all. All beings form the one. And as the journey for the all is to return to the awareness that it is the one, then you can see this is a journey of achieving coherence, so then there can be coalescence, achieving coherence, so then there can be coalescence. And this stepping, this incremental march back to the full realization that one is the one, that you are the one, is the coalescence into the identity of the larger expanded being that you are, and yet the larger expanded being that you are, and yet the larger expanded being that you are. So, you achieving coherence with the rest of humanity that are making the harvest will be so harmonic, so resonant with each other, so similar in vibration, that there will be a dissolving of the borders and then a coalescence into each other. Although the physical borders will remain, but in a sense, you'll become the same being. And then this coherence will then coalesce you into the identity of the earth. These are the incremental steps we're describing now. And so you will literally become the earth, because there will be such coherency that the borders will dissolve and you will coalesce into the identity of that being. Your individuality will be retained. Your identity as the humanity being will be retained. But now you will be the earth being also. And then eventually, as this greater expanded being, you will achieve a level of coherency with the expanded aspect, which is the solar system being, that the borders which define you as separate from that will collapse and you will coalesce into that identity. And increasingly, on larger scales, you become the galaxy. And then, in the final transition, you become the One, where all borders which separate you from something else have all collapsed. And there has been total and utter coalescence back into the One. And when this process has occurred for the all, for all of the infinite individuations, the One created of itself, then the One's purpose for creating the all will have been fulfilled. Because all aspects of itself that once perceived itself as separate through the illusion that the One created will have returned to the full realization that it is in fact the One. And the One will have experienced itself to completion. And its purpose will have been fulfilled. And then, like the beat of a heart, the cycle of breath, the process will begin again. And once more, the One will explode itself into infinite individuations such that it can have purpose. And that purpose being a return to completeness, a return to full awareness and awakening of each of these individuations to the realization that they are the One. This is the process. So, bringing this back to where we were at. This coherence that will transition humanity into this next stage where there is the coalescence into each other to form the single unity, the humanity being, is achieved when there is alignment of each individual in the fields in which they exist. Because as you have all been blueprinted in a way from the same divine design, then when you achieve this alignment, your vibration, shall we say, your representation will be so similar to those others within the field, the human field, who have also achieve this state of alignment, that the coalescence can take place, and you can become the expanded being and begin this incremental march back to the full realization, which expands a tremendous long time, as you can imagine, in the context of how the human experiences time as it does. So, now let's look at these fields. You are the one. And as you are the one, then you exist in all ways simultaneously. However, for the context and the practical application of who you are right now, and this concept of alignment, understanding it so that it can be useful to you, we will speak in the context of this being that you see in the mirror, that you know yourself as. And so, in this regard, we are putting forward these three fields. The spiritual field, the physical field, and the information field. To keep it simple and yet adequate, so that you can become into a place of alignment, so that this transition into fourth density in the harvest can be something that you are included in. Let's discuss how to be aligned in these three fields. So, based on what we said earlier, that living in a clarified, purified way in each of these fields is how you achieve the alignment, then it is starting to become simple, and you are probably beginning to join the dots yourself. Let's look at each individually. Let's begin with the spiritual field. The spiritual field could also said to encompass the emotional field, and also to a degree the energy field. And the way to be clarified, purified in the spiritual field is to be fully awakened of self as the light. To not entertain any emotional states which are from the darkness end of the spiritual spectrum. And these are any which are derived from fear. So it's fear and its derivatives. If you entertain any of those energies, then you are not clarified, you are not purified, you are misconceiving of what you are, because you are a being of the light. This is a drum we have beaten many times before, and so we do not wish to beat you over the head with it this time. So let us give a short explanation for those that perhaps are hearing this for the first time. You arose from the One, and the One, in the lexicon of human emotion, is the light, is love and its derivatives. So, as you have arisen from the One, then you also are made from the same stuff. You also are a being of the light, meaning you also are love and its derivatives. You literally are those things. And so when you are living in a clarified and purified spiritual way, which is totally coherent with who you actually are, then you hold emotional states which are only love and its derivatives from the light end of the spiritual spectrum. So, that is that one checked off. If you wish to hear a more full explanation, then you will find in many of the channels this has been covered, and in particular the one preceding this, we gave it more attention and explanation. So, the next field is the information field. The information field is filled with the binary, just as the spiritual field is. The spiritual field, the binary being light, darkness. And the information field, in a similar way, is filled with the binary, which is truth, untruth. So, to live in a clarified and purified way within the information field, it is important that one is taking into self only truth, and, just as importantly, is only projecting truth. So let's look at these individually. It is important that you find information sources if you have a desire to be informed about the world, that these sources are motivated by the truth, have as their impetus a desire to act on the light by those that are providing this information, by those who are doing the work and the time and the energy to gather this information, because they themselves, now going through the process of aligning further to the light, being more coherent in their spiritual existence, have a desire, insatiable thirst for the truth. And secondary to that thirst is to share it with the rest of the expanded aspect of themselves, meaning with the rest of humanity. There are many that are going through this experience, and their only motivation is to know the truth, to find the truth, to understand the truth, to incorporate the truth, and then to share the truth. This is a growing phenomenon on your planet, and so it is becoming increasingly easier to find individuals and teams that are behaving in this way. So, begin putting yourself in front of those forms of information. So you are immersed in an information field which is predominantly truthful. And the untruth within the information field, which is deliberately being manufactured to steer you away from the truth, to conceal the truth, to protect themselves from the truth. Give those sources no energy, no time. And within self, start being as honest as you can be in all of your interactions. Be motivated by that artifact of the light. The truth is an expression of the light. And even when being truthful would be a detriment to oneself, could result in you taking a step backwards, or leaving you in a way which is exposed or vulnerable. it is still a good practice to be truthful, because when one is continually exposing self to the truth by being truthful, then this will naturally align you with a more truthful way of being, because the unpleasantness of being exposed as being untruthful is unpleasant, is something you will have a desire to avoid. And if you are taking a policy personally to be utterly truthful, then this will begin to make you a being of greater integrity. Meaning, you will begin to align more and more to the light, polarizing to the light. And if you are being a being of integrity, of righteousness, of virtue, then you will very naturally start purging the darkness, to identify less and less with the darkness end of the spiritual spectrum. Now, this information field, it is particularly important because there are those that have taken the philosophical path of darkness that are using this field in a very strategic and powerful way to influence the minds of humanity such that they do not achieve this alignment, do not achieve clarity and purity in the spiritual spectrum and in the physical spectrum, in the physical field. So, of the three, we would say this one is particularly important because it is in this field that you are being manipulated and held back from reaching clarity and purity in the other two fields. And finally, in the physical field, start treating the body as the temple. The higher aspect of self, which is the true essence of who you are. You are not the avatar. You are not the being that you see in the mirror. This is not you. This is a temporary avatar, a flesh suit that you are animating as the puppet master, it being the puppet, for this particular life cycle. And from the expanded aspect, you are doing this in many lives simultaneously. This higher aspect is the true you. And the body, in a way, is the temple which honors this higher aspect of you. And through the expanded definition of your identity, then it is also the temple through which you honor the one. So, if you are living in alignment, then it is treated as a temple. It is treated as a sacred place, such that the higher aspect of self can be brought into the body in the most coherent, resonant, harmonic, purified, clarified way. Keep in mind that this higher aspect, the higher self, which is the eternal being expanding all lifetimes, which is what you truly are, it is not housed in the body. It is housed outside the body, external to the body, in a sense. So, it is animating the body in a way that could be said is analogous to downloading into the body. So you are real-time streaming the higher self aspect into the apparatus. And for this higher self stream to come into the body in the most clarified, purified way that it can, then of course, that would require that the modem, the antenna, which is the body, is optimal. So, the solution to the optimal treatment, the optimal function of the physical, is, of course, what you have heard many times before. Regular exercise, great nutrition, adequate hydration, adequate sleep, limit the toxins. So, as you are now approaching the ascension, it is essential from the perspective of this expanded being that you are, the higher self. From that perspective, it is essential that you now start giving some time and some thought to the way that you are living your life. And begin to take a thoughtful introspection on what your current priorities are. Are your priorities gathering more wealth, power, and authority? Or are your priorities fulfilling the reason that you have come here for this particular life cycle? It is a great honor for you to be alive at this time on this planet in this star system. Because what is occurring here is incredibly unique. And to be alive at this time is also incredibly unique. To utilize this opportunity, this honor, in the best way, then it is prudent to start becoming a being of alignment. Because being a being of alignment is also synonymous with being compatible with the physics, the metaphysics of ascension. Not everyone ascends. In the context of what is occurring here, in the expanded context, every aspect of the all ascends, making its full and total transition back into the coalescence of self as the one, in a state of full realization. However, in this approaching event, the ascension, which is going to occur on this planet, not all humans who will be alive at that time will be included in the ascension. Some will be incompatible. And those that are incompatible will be those that are out of alignment. Because they do not have the coherency, which is so similar to the rest of the field, the rest of the human field, that it allows them to coalesce into the larger organism and make the transition into the fourth density. And so they will literally be buffeted out of it and recycled back into the third density incarnation cycle. That will be a missed opportunity, because you are alive here right now such that you are included. So begin living your life more aligned. Begin being a being motivated by the light. Live righteously. Surround yourself with truth. Speak only the truth. Be a being predominantly of the light to your greatest capacity. Purge the darkness. And through this process of aligning these three main fields, you will achieve the frequency which places you above the threshold, such that you are included in the ascension. So, let us finish in this way. Now is the time to begin. Thank you, and we love you.